What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Black Ops 7 Zombies video. Today, I wanted to talk about the Augment system and why I think it's a pretty good idea and how Treyarch should improve it if they choose to keep it going forward into their next title. And while I actually think the Augment system is a really good idea, and I think it's leaps better than the Ethereum system from Cold War, I still do think it can make a little bit of improvements. Augments in Black Ops 7 Zombies are essentially a progression and loadout system that allows you to upgrade perks, ammo mods, and field upgrades. Each perk, ammo mod, and field upgrade essentially have their own augments that basically change how it works. You can also pick two minor and one major augment for each perk, ammo mod, and field upgrade, meaning it gives players more of an opportunity to mix and match more of these augments together. Like, for example, for elemental pop, you can combine rainbow pop, chillberry, and vulnerabine, which not only makes your damage way better against bosses, but it also makes it the best perk against crowd control as well. PhD augments will essentially turn PhD flopper into PhD slider, and there's also an augment you can put on that makes it so every time you wall jump, you also make an explosion, which is pretty cool. You have some absolutely really useful augments that are absolutely broken, and then you have some augments that are more like gimmicks, but they're still cool to be in the game nonetheless. I personally do really like the augment system, as I've been wanting something in zombies for a long time that allows you to upgrade your perks and stuff like that. Because while don't get me wrong, I didn't hate the classic perk system necessarily, but it did start to get kind of stale over time, and the 4 perk limit was also really annoying. Black Ops 4 did a little bit better with this, with trying to switch up the perk system, but there was still not really a way you could upgrade your perks, and they still kept the 4 perk limit. For Cold War essentially brought back the classic perks with a brand new redesign and a completely different system behind it, where you could earn Ethereum crystals to essentially upgrade your perks to make them stronger. My only problem with the Ethereum system in Cold War is the fact that when you do upgrade your perks, there's no way you can like remove the upgrades or switch them or anything. It's kind of just you upgrade your perks and that's that, and you're powerful for basically the remainder of the DLC season. Augments, in my opinion, are essentially the Ethereum crystal system from Cold War, but done better. Because with augments, not only can you completely remove them if you want to, but you can also switch up some of your augments as well, depending on the strat that you're doing. Maybe I'm in the minority for this opinion, but I absolutely love out-of-game progression for stuff like this. Now, there's definitely issues with out-of-game progression, don't get me wrong, but I'm also one of those people, I'm not really a fan of having to buy the same thing multiple times in the same match, so I think the out-of-game progression stuff is fine. Now, I can understand those complaints where people say that augments make the game way too easy, but also too, the amount it takes to grind these things, I think these things should make the game easier in my opinion. Which, speaking of progression, let's talk about that, because this is one thing that I hope they will address and fix for their next game. So, augments are basically XP based, meaning that you can literally research your augments just by playing the game and leveling up. Now, inherently this is fine and I don't really have an issue with it. My biggest problem is the fact that the XP rates in Black Ops 7 are so abysmally slow. It's going to take you forever to research all of your augments. Like, as someone, like, I work a full-time job as well, and I didn't even unlock all of my augments until after I got to Prestige Master. And that's the biggest issue with this system, in my opinion, is the fact that I don't understand how the average player that works a full-time job every single day is going to be able to level up all of their augments before the DLC season is over. Like, it takes a shit ton of grinding just to get some of your augments unlocked. Now, in my opinion, a way they can fix this is they could either increase the amount of XP XP you can earn throughout the match, or they should reduce the amount of XP it takes to research these augments. Because in my opinion, the rate at which you unlock augments right now is way too slow, and I get that they don't want people unlocking all of their augments super quickly, but there needs to be a balance in my opinion. And although I like that there's a lot of augments and there's a shit ton that you can choose from, some of these augments are also just completely fucking useless and don't change the gameplay at all whatsoever, really. One example of a useless augment is Turtle Shell for Juggernaut. This augment essentially acts as a shield from the classic games, where armor works, where if you get hit from the back, you won't take damage whatsoever, which is not a bad idea in theory, but then you realize it's completely fucking useless in this game due to how the zombie mechanics work in modern zombies. So it's literally useless because it destroys your armor in like 2.3 seconds, and the zombies will hit you from every direction anyway. I also hate to say it, but most of Death Perception's augments are also pretty useless, which is honestly kind of disappointing considering this was the best perk in Cold War. Now, Equivalent Exchange is an example of an augment that's not necessarily useless or bad, but more of it has a weird design decision that makes you literally not want to use this perk sometimes. Equivalent Exchange basically kind of turns Quick Revive into how it kind of used to work back in the olden days, where you have 3 chances to revive yourself by killing a zombie. Now, I think this augment is great, to be honest. The issue I have with Equivalent Exchange though is the fact that when you get down, especially in the higher rounds, they do not give you like a ray gun or a pack-a-punch pistol or anything to kill a zombie with. So essentially, if you're not holding a pistol or a ray gun or something in your inventory, or you just don't have a way to kill a zombie, you are absolutely fucked. It's honestly kind of stupid in my opinion, and I have no idea why they designed it this way. Like, it's just really odd to me that they couldn't have at least given you a ray gun or something to at least be able to kill a zombie to revive yourself. Like, that's crazy. But it can also be somewhat inconsistent sometimes too, where if you do kill a zombie, it just doesn't revive you whatsoever. This augment has to be super bugged, and this can't be the way the developers intended, because this, in my opinion, is stopping this augment from being one of the best in the game. I just don't know if it was intentional or not, but if it was, it's a really weird decision in my opinion. Dying Wish is also another example of one that was brought back from the past that just does not work with this game's mechanics, because it feels like you take so much unearned damage in these modern games to the point where if you run this augment, it's going to literally go off every 2 seconds, and you have to keep buying Quick Revive over and over again. Sometimes my Dying Wish will activate without me barely doing anything. Tribologist for PhD also used to be one of the best augments until they nerfed it in this game for whatever reason. I feel like the balancing for the augments is also kind of weird as well, because you have some augments, in my opinion, that are absolutely meta, that like, why would you pick any other augments? Like for PhD, like, why would I pick anything other than Tribologist and PhD Slider? Because those are literally the 2 best augments in the game. There are also some augments in the game that are not necessarily useless, but I'm sitting here wondering, why are they even augments in the first place? Like for Speed Cola, I kind of wish the reload speed was really fast by default. That way it would have opened up a new slot for me to put another augment there, rather than wasting a slot, just because like it's essentially needed if you want Speed Cola to work as intended. In my opinion, a way they can get rid of some of these useless augments is just to combine them with the perk or the ammo mod or the field upgrade, because I think the augment system is awesome. I just wish there were a lot more useful augments to grind for. Like, it's pretty pretty much a missed opportunity for them not to add some really fucking cool augments to this game. Because that way, I feel like less people will use the exact same augments every single match. Because personally, for me, most of the time, I don't even touch my augments and I just leave them the same every single match. Because there's so many augments that feel like they're crutches to the point where it's absolutely essential to have these augments equipped. So that's another issue I really hope they look into for their next game, to be honest. I also don't know how well they could pull it off, but it would also go a long way if Treyarch could also find a better way to simplify this augment system, as there's some people, especially casual players, that don't even know this system exists or don't even know how it works to begin with. But it also comes down to, like I said, to the point where it also takes so long to grind for your augments that some people, I feel like, are not even experiencing the full game to its full potential because they don't have all of their augments unlocked. Like, it's really weird. But another solution I have for this, and it might sound crazy, but hear me out for a second. So instead of having the augments be XP based to unlock them, they should bring back the Ethereum system from Cold War, but instead of earning the Ethereum crystals when you exfil, it should work like the sacrificial heart system from Vanguard, where in that game you got a sacrificial heart like every 5 or 6 rounds or so, which then you could go to use to upgrade your field upgrade and stuff. You earn Ethereum crystals, and each augment you can unlock costs a certain amount of crystals, and the better the augments you unlock, the more Ethereum crystals that it costs. But that's just kind of my personal idea of where I think they could go with it. I also feel like for simplicity's sake, it would also be a good idea to combine the research tab and the equip tab together, as I feel like it's a little bit more confusing if you have them in separate tabs, basically. Like, it would be so much simpler if you could go to equip augments, and if you have the augment locked, you can click on it to start researching it. Like, that would be so much simpler than having to navigate through the menus and stuff, because this whole system is cool. I just wish it was a little more simple so more people know how to experience the augment system, because having weapon rarities and stuff like that in the game is already complicated in itself, and just adding more features on top of features doesn't help the case either. Because I do like the augment system, there's just a lot of improvements they could make to make it so much better, in my opinion. But either way, I do think the augment system is great with fantastic ideas that I feel like they just need to make a little bit of changes to make it a little bit better and improve on. And I'm curious to see whether or not for their next game they're going to stick with the augment system or do something completely different. I kind of hope they stick with something like this, considering I really like the progression a lot, because it just gives you shit to do and shit to grind for, and it makes your perks a lot better, so it's the best of both worlds pretty much. But either way, let me know what you guys think of the augment system in the comments, and let me know down below what you would do to improve this system, or if you would completely remove it entirely. Let me know. All right, that's all I got for this video. See ya.